Welcome back, Ross the Wars. It's here, us three from across the pond. As usual, it's myself, Nathan, and the Stellenbosch Saints. We've got Ross from the Latvia Unicorns and Mike from his London Legion. We just wanted to sort of go straight into it this week. We've got quite an exciting pod. Between us three, we're going to attempt a proper NFL mock draft from an NFL basis, so not from a fantasy basis. We're going to go through the picks 1 to 16 in this episode, and then sort of review those, and then hopefully get another episode out to you shortly on the remaining back half of the first round. Obviously, look, thanks to Eric and his countdowns, we're not too far away. We're only 10 days. We would love a little extension there, and hopefully he can start a nice long countdown to the first game of the season. But I'm sure he'll cross those bridges when we get there. Just to sort of outline how we're going to go about things today, we're going to Ross is going to start with the first pick, and then Mike the second, myself the third, and we're just going to sort of rotate on that sort of basis. We haven't spoken too much yet, so we're not sure who's going to pick what in the first 16, so it's a little bit of thinking on our toes. But at the same time, we'll hopefully get good feedback and try and make it as realistic as possible. But yeah, I just first of all, before we kick off, Ross, Mike, we've obviously had a long Easter weekend. How have the weekends been? How's things been, Ross?
Yeah, it's been great. 4 days off together. It's unheard of around these parts. So enjoying the sunshine as well. We've been lucky. Spent some time with family, played some golf, played some football. Perfect weekend.
No, good. And yourself, Mike?
Not so much. I've managed to hurt my knee somehow, so I've been laying down watching lots of TV. So I've watched 5 Bond films in 2 days. So not so much of a suntan. Wish I was playing golf like you, Ross, but unfortunately not this time round.
No, good. I think it's look, Easter's always a well celebrated weekend for everyone. So I hope everyone with their roster was with their families have celebrated well this weekend. Anyway, let's before we lose too much time, Mike. We're going to start with Ross. Ross with the official 101. Let's see how we get on here. Let's start. The Jags on the clock. Where are we going to go here and why?
So number 1 pick, we're going to pick Aidan Hutchinson, edge defender out of Michigan. I think, first of all, everyone had the Jags going as an offensive tackle to start with. But in the free agency, they sort of locked that area up. Cam Robinson, is it Cam Robinson? Cam Irvin. The left tackle, anyway, they've got sorted.
Yeah, Cam Robinson. Yeah, they franchise tagged him.
Yeah, they picked Walker Little as well last year. So that's sort of sorted. So I think now everyone's slotting in edge. And there was a couple to choose from. I think we're getting a bit of propaganda now out of Jacksonville that they're going to pick Trayvon Walker, who I'm sure will get picked at some point, but definitely not here. Aidan Hutchinson, for me, is the best player in the draft, and he's going to come in right away and be a great one to pair with Josh Allen on the other side of the line.
Yeah, no, I sort of agree. I think that's a pretty certain pick there, or at least one of the options there. Mike, now 102. We've got the mighty Detroit Lions and Dan Campbell's Army on the clock here. What are your thoughts, Mike?
So the obvious sort of thoughts here is he quarterback? I'm saying no. I think the fact that he's workable. Okay, he's not going to win your Super Bowl, but he's workable. This is an ongoing mission for the Lions. They want to get progressively better. So I think with the contract he's on, they stick with Goff for another year. I think last year was 3,245 yards, 19 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. It's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. So I think they're going to go for the best player on the board left now, which is Kayvon Thibodeau. I think he will bring a lot of energy to the defense. He's very athletic. He brings confidence, I think that's the way we're going to describe him. He likes to talk, and I think Campbell will be able to sort of mould him into that defense. I think he will be a big player for years to come for the Lions.
No, I think that seems to be the debate, Ross, between these sort of 2 edge rushers. I think you obviously had the joy of going Hutchinson, but Thibodeau, he's elite as well. He's at least a sort of top 3, 4, 5 pick this year, Ross.
Yeah, I think his floor is number 4 to the Jets, so I'm a bit annoyed that Mike took him.
I'm very sorry about that.
Yeah, but I think that is another one who's been hit with a sort of the draft propaganda of people saying that he's got a bad attitude and things like that, and that he only thinks of himself. But we don't say that when we're talking about Aidan Hutchinson, who's got a Netflix documentary of himself already. So I think once he gets in the league and gets playing, that will all die down, and it will just be about his playing. And like Mike said, he's unbelievable.
Yeah, no, great. So now I'm going to shift across now to the Texans. Look, the Texans have got holes absolutely everywhere. I think the Texans, look, it seems like Lovie Smith is showing a little bit of support in Davis Mills. So I think they might sort of keep away from quarterback there. They've got everywhere else on the field really to worry about. But I'm going to go on the offensive tackle side. I'm going to go with who I think is my number one tackle in the draft this year, and it's Ikem Ekwonu, the kid from North Carolina State Wolfpack. Obviously an absolute man monster. He comes from good stock. I think his dad was a CFB star. His mom ran track and field. 6'4", 310 pounds, sophomore. He's still pretty young. I think the Texans need to reassure that offensive line and just start building from the trenches. I think they really need to layer those trenches and add defense before they even start worrying about being flashy or going back to the Deshaun Watson days. I don't know what Ross. What would your reaction be to Ekwonu going off the board there?
Yeah, it's a good pick, like you said. Houston have so many holes that you almost can't go wrong. Like, just get a good player, and he seems to be many people's top player in the entire draft class. So getting him at 3, filling a hole, is exactly what they need.
Yeah, I think best player left on the board at that point, you take him, fill the gap, move on. I think that's where the Texans have to think. I think there's a few franchises like that as well, but I think the Texans definitely have got a lot of holes to fill. Yeah,
no, absolutely. Okay, back to Ross now and his beloved Jets. They finally get their pick, their first of their, I think it's just their 2 first round picks. Is that right, Ross?
Yeah, I'm sure we'll trade back into the first round later on. That's my tip. For draft night, we'll have 3 first round picks. But at number 4 here, maybe a bit controversial, but I'll take Jermaine Johnson, edge from Florida State. So he's one of my favourite players, and like I said earlier, I would have picked Kayvon Thibodeau if he was still here, but if not, Jermaine Johnson. As far as what I think the Jets will actually do, it's either going to be defensive end or offensive tackle. We're definitely not going to pick a cornerback like everyone seems to be mocking us. I think the Salah defense doesn't rely on premium assets at cornerback, and he talks so much about being good at coverage by getting to the quarterback. And if you think about the division, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, no one's going to be able to cover for 3-4 seconds on Tyreek Hill. So the key is just to hit Tua before they can even get that far. So yeah, Jermaine Johnson, I really like him as a player. He's a bit older, but I think he's more polished, and he'll come in and he'll be a good sort of number 2 edge straight away. If we get Carl Lawson back up to speed, and I think he's a good character, high character guy that the Jets will love. Yeah, no,
I agree. Look, there's some other decent edges. I think it's quite a good draft class at edge. So look, obviously the gold ticket there is Thibodeau falling down to 4. But I think Jermaine Johnson is a great sort of top 3 pick. Mike, the Giants, the G-men on the clock. What are you thinking here? Is there faith in Danny Dimes, or will the first quarterback go yet?
I think they run with Danny Dimes one more year as well. I think that he's on the last year of a rookie deal, I think it is. So you might as well play him one more season, see what you can do. I'm thinking this way. For me, the rumour of number 1 now goes at number 5. I think Carl Hamilton is the guy that comes in here and slots in. I think, again, they've got lots of holes, but I think the fact that he is by far the best safety in this pack. I think he's the guy they're going to take in here. That's my thought on this one. I think he's got a lot of talents to bring to that Jets defense.
Yeah, he's a talented kid. I think, I think there's a lot of hype around Hamilton, and I think whatever team he ends up on, it's only going to improve their defense. I think any of the teams above him, you could argue are secondary needy, or at least safety needy. So he could easily go before that. But at the same time, you do sometimes see that safety sort of slide down the board. So look, I think that's a good pick for the Giants. What do you think there, Ross?
Yeah, it's another one where best player available, just take the best player. I would say positional value. Some teams may see safety as not a premium position, even though in today's NFL it is becoming more and more important. So it'll be interesting to see which teams value that and which teams don't, because I can see a situation where Kyle Hamilton drops like Derwin James did a couple of years ago, or like we are now, and he's picked top 5. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, so now we obviously cut to sixth pick now on the clock here with the Carolina Panthers. This pick has been sort of really bugging me because, first of all, obviously being a Saints fan, I'm sort of wanting Panthers to bomb out or pick a dud here. But at the same time, thinking on behalf of the Panthers and what they're looking at, look, to me, the most sense right now is they do need to address quarterback. They desperately need to address the quarterback situation. I think what's more realistic is they look at the Baker Mayfield in some form of a trade somehow. They've still got Darnold there. I'm not sure if PJ Walker's there or if any other backups that they've picked up. But I think it's a bit of a reach because I'm going to pick Malik Willis here with the 6th pick for the Panthers. I don't think Malik Willis, as of yet, is this generational talent. And I think they will sort of regret looking back on this, thinking that maybe last year when they went JC Horn, they could easily have taken a quarterback last year and picked up one of the quality cornerbacks in this situation now. But that's obviously looking in hindsight. But I just feel the best thing for the Panthers here is to try and just sort out their quarterback situation. Malik Willis to me is the best talent this year, so I'm going to take Malik Willis at the 106 with the Panthers. Mike, I know you're a Sam Darnold owner, or you might have been. I'm not sure if you still are.
I moved on.
But what are your thoughts with Malik Willis to the Panthers?
I did think the Panthers would go quarterback here. They'll get itchy feet and they'll decide to go for it. A lot's been said about this class, quarterback class on both sides. And it's amazing how the closer you get to the draft, the more it looks like it's improving. Post combine, closer you get. I don't know if they've got quite a lot of talent on the roster anyway, but whether or not you decide to plug in a guy this year because you're at 106, I don't know. Personally, I think that's what they'll do. Whether it's the right thing to do, I don't know. But I think they'll go QB at 6.
Yeah,
I think Willis is the best of the bunch. I think.
Yeah, and yourself, Russ, what's your opinion of the 6th pick, and then obviously take us to your next pick?
Yeah, I think it makes sense that they're taking QB. I would personally take Malik Willis. I think there's been a lot of connections between the Panthers and Kenny Pickett. I think the owner was a Pitt alum. And Matt Rule recruited them initially, I think. So there are some things there. But if you're looking at the talent, the ceiling, then Malik Willis seems to be the pick for me. So now going on to pick number 7 in the Giants. I think they're going to love this scenario where they've got Evan Neal sitting there in number 7. I think he would have been a consideration at 5 if they didn't take Kyle Hamilton. So they're delighted to come back and get him there. He's obviously one of the top tackles between him and Ekwonu. And the Giants desperately need help, and they'll build out that sort of offensive line, defensive line, just like the Bills did. Obviously, with the new GM coming from that organisation, the Bills seem to build from the offensive line, and that's what before building the QB and the wide receivers. So I think that's a solid pick for the Giants.
Yeah, no, I don't have any reservations there. I think that's the right way to go with the Giants. They finished the top 7 picks with Kyle Hamilton and Evan Neal. You can't be too upset there, adding quality on both sides. Mike, with the Atlanta Falcons at number 8 now.
So they need help at wide receiver, but I don't think they go wide receiver in the first round. I think they've got other issues. They've got issues all over the place, and I think looking at the board, Trevon Walker is the guy. They had some help on the defensive side of the ball. You always need to improve the rush. He's better in the run game than the pass game from what I've been reading and what I've seen. But I think he'll be a good addition to that defensive side. I think him, again, best man on the board's that's position, you take him at that point.
Yeah. Ross, do you have much to share on Trevor Walker? You look like you know your bits and pieces around the edge on defence.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan, to be honest. I think later on in the draft, then yeah, he's an upside play. But if you look at his production, he's had virtually none, and that was partly because the Georgia defense used him inside a lot and didn't play him a huge number of snaps because they rotated because the insane level of talent they had on the defense. So he's a bit of a projection in terms of his pass rush ability, and that's why I think maybe when he's getting picked in 1 and 2, I'm maybe not buying it when you've still got some premium edge rushers there. But in terms of Atlanta Falcons, who are maybe looking more long term, then this could be the pick here when they pick the high ceiling, the projection, and develop them like that.
Yeah, no, I can't agree more. On to the 9th pick now with the Seahawks. Look, I've sort of hurt myself by the decision I've made in terms of Malik Willis. I would have loved Malik Willis to actually fall to 9 for the Seahawks to take. I feel he's a better fit for the sort of the Seahawks type of brand of football as opposed to the Panthers. The fact that he's off the board now, obviously you have to look elsewhere. They are, once again, I think Denver's going through a bit of a rebuild now, obviously losing Russell Wilson, losing Bobby Wagner on the defensive side. They're losing some seriously experienced individuals. I want to go offensive line here. So I want to look at the tackle. I want to look at like someone like Charles Cross, even Bernard Raymond. But I think when we're getting to the 9th pick now, and Seattle don't have another pick throughout the first round here, I think they need to go with actually the best player right now. And I think the best player is Ahmad Gardner. I don't think that they necessarily are very cornerback needy, but I think Sauce Gardner is a great pick for the Seahawks at 9, just to sort of revitalize that defense that really needs a bit of a revamp. What are your thoughts there, Ross, with Ahmad Gardner to the Seahawks?
Yeah, I love it. I think this is definitely the pick if the board was to play it like this for them. I think back to the Legion of Boom days, and the cornerbacks they had were all long and aggressive and physical, and that's exactly what Sauce Gardner is. I think he's almost the safest pick in the entire draft, I would say. Sauce Gardner, he's just going to come in. He's going to be a really good player straight away. So yeah, good.
Yeah, no, happy with that. Back to you. I think it is Ross, and you get the Jets again at number 10. I wonder who planned this draft, but they've done well here. Ross, go ahead.
Yeah, so another one which the Jets might not actually take, but I'd love it if we picked Jameson Williams at number 10. So wide receiver out of Alabama, and he's probably my favourite wide receiver in the draft. It's between him and Drake London, and I think it might be between those two for the Jets back at 10. But Williams has got like one elite trait that not a lot of, in fact, no one in this draft class has, and it's just that speed. He's obviously injured in the championship game, but he'll be back, and I don't think missing the first half of the season, we can be so short-term to think that will stop us from picking him and let him fall to a team later on in the draft who are better already than us, and then get a better player than us. So I think we also, when we look to get Tyreek Hill, it's clear that that's an element that we want to add to the offense, is the speed, and the downfield threat of Jameson Williams definitely gives something for Zach Wilson to reach with his massive arm. So I think it's a good fit, and he's a great player. And I would love it if the Jets done this on the actual draft day. If
the Jets do, if the draft does play out not too dissimilar from our pick here, do you find Jameson Williams an immediate sort of fantasy relevant piece for the Jets, or do you think obviously with the rebuild with obviously a young quarterback and maybe sort of still a few mouths there, is he automatically the wide receiver 1 in New York, or where are you guys placed?
I don't think so. I think Elijah Moore's still the wide receiver 1. He's already got that 1 year of chemistry with Zach Wilson. Now they're having an off season together as well. And obviously Jameson Williams won't be there for training camp either. So that's another bit of chemistry and just time missed. I think Williams can be that boom bust week to week guy who might get you 40 points in 1 week and then 2 points the next week. so he'll still be fantasy relevant. And obviously, this all depends on Zach Wilson taking a leap and the Jets' offense being good enough to support at least one fantasy receiver. But I still love Elijah Moore, and it may be my homerism talking, but yeah, I still fancy Elijah Moore to be the wide receiver one, at least for this year.
Yeah, no, I agree. Okay, now on to the next pick here. We've got the Commanders there, Mike, at number 11. What are they thinking?
Wide receiver. Now the Jets have moved on one. It's I think that you start looking more at those sort of players now. Chris Olave is my guy on this one. I think his skills matched up with Scary Terry actually I think works the field quite well. His route running is very good. He's pretty explosive. He's got pretty all good round skills. I think he'll work well in the Washington offense. Of course, you got Garrett Wilson, Drake London, other good names around him, but I think he's the one that fits their system most from what I've been looking at and what I've been reading. So that's where I'm going on that one.
Okay. What's your reaction there, Ross?
I absolutely love it. So I think Olave has been consistently mocked as maybe the fourth or fifth receiver, behind, maybe the third, behind Wilson and London for sure. But I think he could have a better career than Wilson. I think he'll definitely have a better career than Wilson. I don't really have anything to back it up, but it's just a feeling I have. I love the player. And like you said, Mike, I think with him and McLaurin, and then you've got Curtis Samuel and Gibson doing the sort of underneath stuff, I think it'll work well. They just need a quarterback to get him the ball.
As much as these guys are ranked wherever in the pre-out, it depends on which team's picking them. You've got to look at what else is on their roster already. So much as Wilson's that does this, Olave does that, which suits Washington better, I think. So.
Yeah, especially with a few of or at least some of the rumors that I've seen today. Obviously, your guys like Scary Terry, Deebo Samuel, AJ Brown. These guys are obviously threatening to obviously not train early, awaiting contract offers. I think it's good to get Chris Olave in there as almost your hedge bet, really, and hopefully Scary Terry gets his contract and carries on. Then you've got two elite receivers. You've still got Curtis Samuel coming back from injury. There are a few other sort of interesting figures there, but look, I think that is the best pick, and I think it gives Carson Wentz enough weapons really to hopefully be productive there with Riverboat Ron.
I think also you look at how much stuff they were trying to do in trades to get quarterbacks in this season. They're looking to build that offense. So now they've got Wentz, they're going to try and add more weapons to it. So.
No, exactly. Okay, cool. So now myself with the Minnesota Vikings at 12. The Vikings are a team I'm not too closely familiar with. Obviously, they've got a new coach in town, new sort of setup there. There's still some incredibly quality players on the board that I am tempted to look at cornerback. I'm very tempted to look at cornerback. However, I feel the Vikings need to look back at the trenches with the new coach. I'm actually going to look a little bit deeper in this first round. I'm going to go with Tyler Linderbaum, the center from Iowa. I feel that the Vikings need to address this offensive line. I think they need to sort of help out both sort of the continuity there with Kirk Cousins under center, but also just the running lanes for Dalvin Cook, Alex Madison. I do like Linderbaum, and I don't think that center position is very deep this year, so they can't afford to wait, in my opinion, much later. When looking for that position. So I'm going to go ahead with Tyler Linderbaum there at the 12th pick for the Vikings. Mike, any reaction to that pick there?
Yeah, I think he's the best centre in the draft. I think there's a lot of teams we're looking at him later on. So the fact he's gone at 12 will probably ruffle a few feathers of people like the Ravens and people who want to try and shore up the centre of that line. The Cowboys, another one probably looking to add for their O-line as well. So I think it's a good pick by the Vikings. Hopefully, if he pans out, he keeps Kirk Cousins more upright. They've got a decent wide receiver in Jefferson. Makes sense.
Yeah. And Ross, thoughts on the pick, and then obviously yourself with the pick 13.
Yeah, it's another one where the player himself really good, and I think he's going to be a starter for a long time. If you look at the centres picked in the first round, maybe the top of the second round, they always seem to pan out, and they all seem to be starters for a good number of years. And it's just the positional value that is the question of where they get picked. So I think that is going to be a solid pick for whoever takes Lindebaum in the first round.
Yeah.
But moving on to pick 13 now, and the Texans. Well, obviously at the start of the draft we picked Ekwonu for them at tackle. Now I'm going to go back to the trenches and get the other side sorted and pick Jordan Davis, sort of defensive tackle out of Georgia. I think this is probably the floor for him. I think, because I think that the Texans are where they're looking for positions everywhere, like we said, and Davis has the athletic ability to be one of the best interior defenders in the league. The knock on him was that he's a 2-down defender. But that, like I said earlier with Trayvon Walker, that was in Georgia, where they had the ability to rotate players and keep them fresh for the first couple of downs. And I think once he gets to the NFL, he'll be a 3-down player and he'll use his athletic ability to take the next step.
Yeah, no, I think those are two great picks on either side of the trenches there for the Texans. I think that's the right thing to do. Look, they've got a young quarterback. To me, this year's a bit of a free hit for Lovie Smith. Obviously, you don't want to go 0-17 or whatever it is, but there's enough infrastructure there to sort of build it up. They've given Brandon Cooks an extension, and I'm sure they'll take a few dart throws late in the draft. But to get that quality early in the first round, I think you can't really go wrong with Jordan Davis and Ekwonu. Mike, the Ravens at 14.
So the fact that the centre's now gone, this is where I thought the Ravens would look. It's the O-line, I think, this year. Dobbins is coming back. They want to try and help Lamar a bit more to spend more time in the pocket and stop him running a bit. So I'm going to go Charles Cross. I think he's dropped back a bit from where I think some people thought he might go in the draft at this point. He appears to be very, a lot of potential coming forwards. Can slot in along the line. I think they need more help at centre, but they can shuffle some guys along to move across. So I think that'd be quite a good addition for the Ravens there.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree. I think, again, they seem like a quite ready-to-go team. They've got a lot of very good players in very good positions, and I think they're quite established. They're ready to make a run for it. They just need to be more competitive in that AFC North. They've obviously got the Bengals to compete with. Now that you've got a Deshaun Watson-Brown suddenly, who can become a bit more competitive with him, obviously depending on suspensions. Pittsburgh are obviously going through a bit of a rebuild, but you can never write off a Mike Tomlin side. I don't know, Ross, with Charles Cross, do you think that's a right pick for the Ravens? Would you have maybe gone somewhere else?
I think in terms of the player, he's a good player. The thing on him is that he's a good pass protector because he's offense in college, and he needs work as a run defender. So I'm not sure if the Ravens would go this route, or if they'll pick someone else. But I think he'll be gone before this anyway. Like you said, he's a really, really good player. And we'll see. I don't know anything about offensive line. I'm just regurgitating stuff that other people have said. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I think all us big boys are becoming offensive line experts the first couple of rounds. Look, we've obviously got 2 picks here to halfway. I'm actually going to change this. I was going to make the Philly pick, but I'm going to let Ross make the Philly pick just so that I can make the Saints pick at number 16 before we sort of finish off. So Ross, you are now Philadelphia GM. Where are you going here at 15? So
I think the Eagles have got a couple of picks now. They want to get out the first round with a cornerback and a wide receiver. There's a lot of options here. And you obviously, because the next pick's 18, you've got to think about pick 16, pick 17, and who's likely to go in between. I think with the Chargers at 17, I think the Eagles now have to take Derek Stingley Jr. At this pick here, cornerback out of LSU. Now, this is a polarizing player because his freshman tape was unbelievable, and then for the last couple of years he's been injured, maybe uninterested with some reports. But if a team can get that freshman 18-year-old locking down SEC wide receivers back out of him, and he's always got the athletic ability we've just seen in his pro day, then they'll be flying.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think his quality, like as you say, he obviously broke onto the scene as a freshman and sort of didn't really hit those heights again. But he's an elite athlete. I think he's clearly the second cornerback there. Maybe one or two others are sort of also competitive and in conversation there. But I think for Philly, what they've done, they've sort of traded back. They've doubled up, obviously, still in the first round. They've pushed into the first round 2023, giving Jalen Hurts another option, I think, to sort of pair Derek Stingley in that defense. Guys like Darius Slay, I think it's going to be quite an exciting defense there in the NFC East. And I think it'll put a little bit of pressure on the Giants and put a little bit of pressure on the Cowboys and even Washington now. I think it will be a slightly undercover competitive because they're all, in my opinion, they're all similar sort of standard. There's no elite team and they're all pretty on par with each other. Okay, so let's go to pick 16 to sort of finish the half of our mock draft as it stands. The Saints obviously traded up. They were originally the 18th and they traded up here to take the 16th from Philly and lost the 2023 first. To me, there are a few positions here that I do want to look at. Bearing in mind who is picking after me, we've obviously got the Chargers and then Philly before we go Saints again. I'm going to have to go wide receiver. And it's really a toss-up between these two elite wide receivers. So I'm going to go with Drake London. I think Drake London is an incredible player. I think Ross touched on him earlier when we were sort of looking at a few other teams. I think he's explosive. I think he would be great to pair along with Slant Boy, with Michael Thomas. And then obviously you've got the likes of Deontay Harris, who's explosive downfield. You've still got Traquan Smith, who's been around the block, hasn't really lit any fires, but has been sort of a tidy player. I will obviously be addressing some other positions later in the draft, but I felt the fact that Drake London's sitting there at 16, I think he's definitely something to give Saints fans something to shout about. Ross, I'll let you fire away. I know how much you enjoy Drake London.
Yeah, I do. I think I've said everyone's my favourite player, but he's one of my favourite players. I think he's misunderstood as well. People think because he can catch the ball in jump ball situations and he has got that strong, long ability to win those contested catches, that's all he does. But it's not. He's great after the catch as well, especially for his size. And the problem in college was that his quarterback wasn't good enough to give him the ball in space. And he was able to separate against defenders. And I think he's going to make a great receiver at the next level. And I think, like you said, if you get Slant Boy back, then it's a good mix of styles there. And Jameis Winston has obviously got the arm to throw him down the field. And he loves just throwing at people, regardless if they're covered or not.
Yeah, no, exactly. We all know. Mike, what are your thoughts there on
I like
Drake
it. I think he'll fit in well with the system. You've lost a few bigger players over the years in different positions, but I think the wide receivers needs to be refreshed a little bit now. And having a young talent coming through to be coached up into that system with Michael Thomas hopefully still there will be a good thing for him. He'll see how Michael Thomas works, his work rate, and go from there. So I think he's a good addition. I'm glad you avoided quarterback.
Yeah, no, I think if it was a better quarterback class, I'd be a lot more tempted. If we were in the if it's better quarterback class, you would be picking a quarterback at 16. They'd be long gone. Oh yeah, that's also a very fair point. But I think the Saints have leveraged themselves in a position where I wouldn't be surprised if they go all in and trade up, because you are looking at teams like the Panthers, and you are looking at teams like the Falcons, who do have picks before the Saints, and both of them, you would argue, are relatively QB needy. So if the Saints do believe that Malik Willis or Kenny Pickett or Desmond Ridder or whoever is their guy, they will have to be tempted to go in to make sure that they leapfrog their competitive teams in the NFC South. I'm pretty confident that the Panthers will go quarterback, hence I went Malik Willis. I'm just obviously not necessarily sure who they go. And although what I think, Mike, it was it you with Trayvon Walker at the Falcons, which to me is definitely going to, or it's very high on their pick. I wouldn't be surprised if Malik Willis fell to 8, that they tempted to go that route as well.
Possibly.
But let's see, I don't know. So just to sort of summarize the first sort of half year, we've got Aiden Hutchinson, edge rusher to the Jags at 1, Thibodeau, edge rusher to the Lions, Kwonu tackle, offensive tackle to the Texans, Johnson II, edge rusher to the Jets, Hamilton safety to the Giants, Willis quarterback to the Panthers, Neal offensive tackle to the Giants, Walker edge rusher to the Falcons, Sauce Gardner cornerback to the Seahawks, Williams wide receiver to the Jets, Olave wide receiver to the Commanders, Linderbaum center to the Vikings, Jordan Davis defensive interior to the Texans, Charles Cross offensive tackle to the Ravens, Stingley cornerback to the Eagles, and Drake London wide receiver to the New Orleans Saints. Ross, looking at those 16 picks, are there any big surprises in that 16? Anyone that you felt fell a bit further than they should go, or anyone that maybe was slightly reached upon? What just quickly before we sort of finish off?
I think Sauce Gardner fell a bit for me. I think 7 is his floor. I don't think he goes past there. I think that's an underrated spot for him as the Giants, and obviously he can go a lot higher. And then maybe a reach, to be a bit harsh on you guys, I'd say a centre at 12. I just don't think the positional value, the NFL values it that way. But if the talented player, then absolutely brilliant. But with the positional value, I would be surprised, let's say.
Yeah, I was in two minds. I was very much thinking Stingley Jr., Derek Stingley Jr. as well, or one of the other cornerbacks there. But I just felt that they're lacking at guard and at center. So I think there's quite a lot of exposure there on the offensive line for the Vikings. So rather make sure you get a definite one than opposed to sort of hoping that you hit sort of later on. Anyway, guys, look, I think it's been a pretty successful first half of the NFL mock draft for this 2022. We obviously just under 10 days or 10, 11 days away. So it's just around the corner. I'm sure we'll be releasing the second half pretty promptly after this. Bearing in mind, these are just our sort of assumptions as just fans. And obviously, we know what can happen on draft day. We know the trades that can happen and can obviously throw the board into turmoil. But we see these 16 players as very much first round quality draft picks, wherever they really do end up going. Any last words from you guys? How have you guys sort of found this?
It's more fun in Vegas.
Yeah, I'm sure. No, exactly.
No, it's been good. It's been good. Different views, different people. Even the three of us don't necessarily agree on what all the 3 picks are going to be. So it shows you how tough a job these GMs get. So there's a few. I think there's a few surprises yet to come as well.
Yeah, if we do this again, I'll pick completely different players. That's what happens. So yeah, it's definitely a fun exercise.
No, I think it's been good. But yeah, look, again, thanks so much, Ross. Thanks, Mike, for sort of giving up your Monday. Still feels like a Sunday, but yeah, thanks for giving the time, and I'm sure we'll get the next round out to you again. And Ross, the Wars, keep well, keep drafting and RFAing well the main league, and I'm sure the minors, Tyler, if we just remain a little bit more patient, the ball will get rolling soon. But thanks again, guys. It's been another good episode, and I'm sure, and we'll be back shortly. Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Thanks.
Cheers.